What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Swing for the Fences MLB show here on the Run Pure Sports YouTube channel. It's Monday, August 25th. No Game Log Mondays today. Big T, no JT, but we got Dan filling in, talking baseball. Dan, the people are going to need you to be combative to live up to the reputation of this show. So when I say something stupid, let me know, as JT and Big T do, and we'll have a good show here. But good to have you, Dan. Thanks for filling in. How you doing on this Monday afternoon?
It's great to be here, man. Ready to talk some ball. Yeah, man. I'm excited. Phillies. I think I'm going to go to the Phillies-Mets game tomorrow. So I'm glad you called me today. Got me on today.
You live in New York?
Yeah, I live in Queens. So Citi Field is like 15 minutes from my house.
Very nice. That'll be good. Those games between the Phillies and Mets will be a good time for sure. We'll get to that game shortly, but we do start off with the other New York game. It's the Yankees and the Nationals. This one, of course, in Yankee Stadium. Very favorable hitting weather, I think, is maybe the biggest story in this one. Going to be in the mid-70s, some humidity, and then pretty strong winds blowing out to center, maybe right center field for what already is a good home run park, especially out to right field. So Yankees will get the right-hander Brad Lord, who kind of profiles perfectly for this game. If you're looking at stacking the Yankees, gets hit hard by lefties, which plays to the park too. Sometimes you get these situations, and I think this is one for the Yankees where everything kind of lines up. So I got to be in on the Yankees here. Of course, an awful bullpen behind Brad Lord. We'll pull up ownership here in a minute, but I assume the Yankees will be pretty popular. And then fellow right-hander Cam Schlittler going for the Yankees. It's been pretty solid so far. Does have good stuff coming off his best start of his career last time out in Tampa. No less, 8 strikeouts over 6 2/3 shutout innings. Gets a Nationals team that has some dangerous bats at the top and Abrams and Wood, but beyond that, it falls off in a hurry for the Nationals. So Schlittler, I didn't end up quite making the cut for me, but I'll admit I'm already kind of rethinking that a little bit. Seems like he could be a pretty solid play here looking at this matchup against the Nationals. And then I do think the Nationals left-handed bats look like decent plays too, but mostly Yankees in this one for me. Dan, what are you looking at with Nationals and Yankees?
Yeah, I'm getting mostly Yankee bats. They're going to be probably the most popular 5-man on the slate. Good hitting environment. Ballpark Pal has them up 26% for home runs. I do have interest in Schlittler. I'm getting him about 20%. I'm not getting any Lord. Like you said, the lefts for Washington, you can play Abrams, Wood, Garcia, but other than that, I'm really not getting much Washington.
Yeah, makes sense. Any New York bats in particular you're looking at, trying to make sure you get them in there?
Yeah, Judge, Chisholm. I got a lot of Ben Rice, a lot of Grisham, and Goldschmidt.
Yeah, makes sense. I throw Bellinger in that mix is a really good play. They're expensive for sure. You do got to kind of sacrifice to get the Yankees in, but they look like really strong plays. And I think there's some pretty good cheap pitching tonight too. There's really good pitchers on the high end, but I do think you can go cheaper pitching if you are trying to get that full-on expensive Yankees 5-man, which frankly I wouldn't be surprised at all if that ended up on the winner. So I do think playing the Yankees into what looks like 15 to 20% ownership, I do think it makes some sense on this slate, although that is a lot of ownership for a 10-game slate. So could certainly play it either way. Let's go to
yeah. You don't really have too many guys that are like they're all around 10% as well. So you don't really have any of the single-digit guys at the bottom of the order that are going to come in lower either.
For sure. A deep lineup for the Yankees, so people will go down to the bottom. But yeah, we're both in on the Yankees, even with the relatively high ownership. Next up, we go to Toronto for the Twins and the Blue Jays. Max Scherzer going for the Blue Jays. He's been, frankly, quite a bit better than I expected him to be. Kind of seemed like the end of the road for Max Scherzer, dealing with injuries that he claims can't be fixed, stuff like that. But he's been legitimately good for over a month now. And he gets a Twins team, that I do like some of these Twins lefties a little bit as contrarian plays against Scherzer for power, but this lineup is still one to target with starting pitchers. So yeah, I just don't fully trust Scherzer, but I do think he makes some sense on this slate. Mid-tier price tag, $8,300. I think I would prefer Schlittler in that 7 to 8K range, but Scherzer I do think is in play. Joe Ryan going for the Twins had a rough start last time out against the A's. Ryan sometimes gets hit with hard contact. That's what happened there. 7 hits in 4 innings. Gave up a home run. Wasn't good for Ryan. And another bad spot for him against a low strikeout Jays team that, honestly, Dan, I just don't really play many pitchers against this Jays team at all. I haven't all year. Haven't really, felt the need to switch that philosophy. And I'll stick to it tonight. I think Ryan is the worst of the expensive pitchers. He's a full fade for me on this slate. Not going to play Ryan. Some interest in Scherzer. Some interest in the Twins' power lefties. That'd be calling these guys power is a little bit much, but Larnach, Lee, Wallner, and Clemens. And then I think if you wanted to get really contrarian, I assume the Blue Jays will be way off the board. I'll pull them up here. Ownership, 5%-ish on the Blue Jays. But Sabres got the Blue Jays with a 4.5 team total against Joe Ryan, who's, the Twins bullpen also have been decimated. So maybe a sneaky spot there. I don't think I'll get there in my limited lineups, but makes some sense to me. Dan, what are you looking at with Blue Jays and Twins here?
I'm getting a decent amount of Blue Jays. I'm playing pretty flat when it comes to bats, but Blue Jays are coming in at around my 6th, 7th use stack. So not too high up there, but not ignoring them. I agree with you about Joe Ryan. He's by far the worst option of these high price guys. He's got a 5.5 strikeout prop that's considerably lower than everybody else around him. So worst option up there for sure. And I agree with you on the Minnesota bats. I would throw Buxton in there as well. I'm getting a good amount of Twins. Twins are anywhere from like my 3rd to 4th highest on stack in these runs.
In on the Twins. You were in on them yesterday too. I think they were a little bit disappointing overall in that one. But it just makes sense against – go ahead.
No, a little bit disappointing. I'm going back to the well, though.
Yeah. You don't seem like a guy deterred from a team letting you down one day. You're back in there, Dan. I like that about you.
Oh yeah, I'll beat my head against the wall, man. I'm good to keep going.
yeah. You trust those projections, that's for sure. I like it. But Twins lefties for me again. Larnach, Lee, Wallner, Clemens, specifically the guys that I'm looking at. I do think those guys are good one-offs too, in particular, just because you are really home run hunting against Scherzer. I don't think the Twins. Maybe Dan disagrees a little bit, but I don't think they're going to put up a huge number. I do think if they get there, it will be via the long ball. So I'll mostly be sticking to the Twins lefties here myself. But I could see it against Scherzer. And then, we're both off of Joe Ryan, which looks like the field will be too. 2% on Joe Ryan, pretty crazy, but I'm still not going to get there myself, even at a very, very low ownership number. Up next, we've got the Phillies and the Mets. This one at Citi Field, going to be lefty Christopher Sanchez going for Philadelphia. He's been just outstanding all year long. Been one of my favorite pitchers. We were on him from the very beginning. Have seen his rise all the way up to this 10K area. One of the Cy Young favorites, although I think Skeens is going to win it at this point. But Sanchez, 9,700. Judging by ownership here, Dan, I do think people are going to kind of look at this matchup with the Mets and shy away somewhat from Sanchez. You're seeing, 10 to 15% owned on Christopher Sanchez. To me, that's just a buy based on how good I think he is. And, this Mets matchup is a tough one, but we see this Mets stack fail more often than it seems like it should. And there are, the back half of this lineup, I know Vientos is on fire, but it doesn't look super scary to me either. So I've seen Sanchez mow down better lineups than this, and I won't be surprised to see him do it again today. So I'm absolutely buying on Sanchez. I think he's one of the better plays on the slate at that ownership. And then the Mets will go with Kodai Senga, who's been pretty bad in the second half of the year. Super wild, walking multiple guys basically every time out, not making it deep into games, has given up a home run in 6 straight games. It's just been pretty ugly for Senga. Obviously, the Phillies have quite a bit of patience in their lineup and quite a bit of power, obviously mostly at the top of the lineup. But I do think a low-owned, or at least somewhat low-owned, Kyle Schwarber makes a lot of sense in this one. Yeah, you're getting – Sabres got him down at 4%. That's – I think way too low for someone the mashing like Schwarber is. I'm not scared of this matchup for those guys. And I think this stack could potentially go off if Senga melts down, which he's proven time and time again he's capable of that. Pretty much has a really bad inning most starts these days. So Philly, I think, is somewhat sneaky here, in on Sanchez, and then no Mets bats for me. Not going to try to go after Sanchez here. Dan, your thoughts?
Yeah, I've got Philly pretty low down on my list of teams. They're probably checking in around 10th mostly. And it's just because of the hitting environment. Citi Field is generally not very good for home runs. They look like one of the weaker hitting environments on the slate today, especially when it comes to extra base hits per ballpark pal. So I'm mostly fine to avoid bats here, but I definitely agree with you on Sanchez. He's projected to come in 10%, which seems absurdly low for how good he's been pitching. I'm going to get at least double that, probably more. But he's getting mega squeezed by Skubal and DeGrom. So I agree with you. This is an awesome buy low spot on Sanchez.
I think people kind of assume he still has the low strikeout upside, but he pitches so deep into games that it's not really true anymore. We get 6-7 innings every single time out. He usually gets there with 6, 7, 8 strikeouts. I mean, look at the K totals: 12, 6, 6, 6, 5, 12, 6, 8, 5, 11 in his last 10 or so games. I mean, he's getting it done almost every time out, Will Sanchez. And also, he's got the upside of like complete game shutout type of stuff. I mean, they'll let him go and try to finish the job if he's pitching well. So I do think his upside, both strikeout wise and just in general, is a little bit underrated still at this point. And yeah, the ownership 10 to 15% on Sanchez, just way too low, in my opinion. So I'm glad you're on board. Sanchez, both of our favorite pitchers on this slate, at a pretty low ownership as well. Up next, we go to Chicago for the Royals and the White Sox. Moderate weather here, going to be a little bit cooler in Chicago tonight. It'll be lefty Noah Cameron going for the Royals. He got off to that incredible start in the early part of the year. Has faded a little bit, but still, I mean, awesome season for Cameron. He's pitched really well the vast majority of it. And he does get a pretty good matchup here against the White Sox. Not a bad place to pitch tonight. Not a great place either, but kind of a neutral park, or should play neutral in right field in Chicago. So Cameron, another one that didn't quite make the cut for me, just because, I really like Sanchez. We're going to talk about Skubal, DeGrom, some cheaper pitchers we like. So Cameron, again, I don't think he's a bad play at all, but I'm not going to quite get there myself. And then no interest really in Shane Smith for me. He has pitched pretty well over the last 4 starts, but the Royals, they're not as good as the Blue Jays, but they kind of have a similar structure of lineup where they just make a lot of contact. Makes it difficult for pitchers to have big upside games against them. So I'm not crazy about the Royals here outside of Vinny P, who I believe is now homered didn't homer yesterday. Homered in 4 straight games prior to that, 5 straight games. But he is a guy that I've been playing a lot of. Going to stay on him while he's hot against Shane Smith, who does struggle against lefties. But not going crazy with the Royals myself. Not going to play many White Sox. I think Miguel Vargas in the 2-hole looks pretty good. Sosa and Robert, I think, are okay, but not going crazy with those guys. Your thoughts here, Dan? White Sox and Royals.
Yeah, Kansas City and the White Sox, those are just 2 teams that I seem to always be higher on. I'm not as high on the White Sox today as I was yesterday. Looked like they did pretty well.
Yeah.
Kansas City today, they're going to be like probably the second most popular team for the ownership on Sabre. It looks like it's usually not a great hitting park, but it looks like it's up like 12% on home runs. Winds blowing out. So I like getting to Kansas City today. Obviously, Bobby Witt, Sal Perez. Looks like Massey here at like 2K flat in the 8-hole. You're probably going to have him in a bunch of those stacks, save salary, and get up to some of the better pitching. But yeah, there's a lot of home run upside in this lineup. It's cheap. So I'm getting a good amount of Kansas City. I'm getting none of the pitching from either side.
Yeah, I'm also out on this pitching. Like I said, I think Cameron the better play between the 2. And yeah, I'm definitely a little bit lower on you than KC, but I get it against Shane Smith. You can't overlook how bad this White Sox bullpen is either. Decent place to hit, relatively cheap, all that good stuff. So certainly understand the Brewers love, just I think looking elsewhere for the most part myself. All right, let's get to Milwaukee. Brewers continue to get the job done on most slates. Tonight they get the veteran lefty Eduardo Rodriguez, who has mostly kind of struggled this year. There's been some good starts, but overall, a lot of base runners, a lot of runs allowed. He's been walking a lot of dudes recently. And he gets this Brewers team that I say at every slate. To me, they're almost always lower owned than I think they should be. And it'll probably, for the most part, prove true again, pulling up the ownership. Yeah, Brewers 5 to 15% owned looks like. I do think this is a lineup you can play most of it. Some pinch hit risk on some of these guys, but like the lefties that are starting against the lefty Rodriguez are going to stay in there. Terang, Frelick probably get the whole game here. I think you can play even bottom of the other guys, Durbin, Collins, Perkins in that 6, 7, 8 hole. Monasterio, I think, would be by far the biggest pinch hit risk in the 9 hole. Wouldn't really want to play him anyway. So cross him off, but the other 8 guys I think look good for the Brewers. Diamondbacks bullpen's been bad all year, got worse at the trade deadline, and I'm in here on the Brewers bats for sure. And then Brandon Woodruff going for Milwaukee. Came out of the gate off his injury back in July. Just gem after gem for Woodruff. The stuff plus grades, the metrics that try to really parse out what a pitcher is doing independently outside of hitting, never really bought in on Woodruff, and we're kind of seeing it prove true in these last couple of starts, although they did let him get back up to 94 pitches last start. I don't really know what to make of Woodruff, but I do know his price, I think, is a little bit egregiously high here. So I'm off of Woodruff. I do like him better than Joe Ryan, but I do have him behind Skubal, Sanchez, and DeGrom. So no Woodruff for me. Hasn't been bad enough, I don't think, to go to these D-backs guys, but I wouldn't hate a Perdomo, Marte, Carroll. Super expensive, but I do think they've got upside against Woodruff, who, again, I think we may see a few bad starts from him down the stretch. But I'll go over to you, Dan. Your thoughts here: Woodruff, Rodriguez, D-backs, and Brewers.
Yeah, I'm getting Woodruff at about around the field. His K-prop up there. I mean, Skubal obviously is far and away got the best strikeout upside here. I actually don't think I've seen an 8.5 prop all season, but he's below him there at 6.5. He's going to get squeezed along with Sanchez. I just like Sanchez so much more as a play. So I'm not, I'm getting to about around the field of Woodruff, and I'm fine with that. As far as the bats go, I agree with you as well. I'm getting a bunch of Brewers. I'm getting Vaughn, Contreras, Terang, obviously, Yelich. They're coming in at like my 3rd or 4th highest owned stack on all my runs. So top 5 stack for me for sure.
Yeah, I'm in on the Brewers. I'm surprised to see Woodruff projected for higher ownerships than Sanchez, even at a higher price point. To me, that doesn't make a lot of sense. I get the matchups better, but I just think Sanchez on a different level of pitcher than Woodruff is. So certainly a stand for me there, Sanchez over Woodruff. I do get playing both if you're playing a bunch of lineups, but I do have Woodruff, for me, a fair bit behind Sanchez, DeGrom, and Skubal. So for people playing limited lineups, maybe move off of Woodruff. Any Erod? Doesn't sound like you're going there at all.
Got 2%.
Yeah.
So not like nothing.
Half the field there on Erod. There you go. 4% to 2% on Erod. I looked at it at 6,200 and just
that was one run. I was like, honestly, I've got one where he's coming in at 2%, but the rest of them actually I'm getting none. So not my priority.
If you're very curious, you can look up Dan's lineups and see if he indeed has his 2% of Eduardo Rodriguez.
You might not make.
That's Arizona and Milwaukee. Halfway through this 10-game slate, a good time to remind everybody, hit the like button if you're watching. Going strong here in the baseball season. We'll be finishing strong too. We'll be doing shows maybe a little bit less often with football coming around, but still most days we'll be here doing baseball for this last month and change. Appreciate everybody watching, the support, all that good stuff. But yeah, hit the like button for us if you're watching, and head over to Run Pure Sports if you're interested in upgrading your DFS or sports betting game. We've got everything you need. Football, baseball, and otherwise, all DFS sports, and more bets than really anybody could handle to get in there. So everything you need over at Run Pure Sports. Use promo code RPS15. We'll get you 15% off your first payment. All right, Dan, let's get to the second half of the slate. We'll, of course, go back over pitching, stacks, favorite hitters, and then we'll finish with the pick six. But 5 games to talk about still. So let's go over to St. Louis for the Cardinals and the Pirates. We've got rookie Michael McGreevy going for the Cardinals against the Pirates. 6,300 for McGreevy. Looks like he's going to come in around 10% owned. And then we've got Jose Oviedo making his third appearance of the season for the Pirates. Did go 75 pitches last time out, but wouldn't expect a lot more than that from him. 5% ownership or so on Oviedo, who is not on my list today, but McGreevy is somewhat reluctantly. I'm not super excited about him as a talent or a long-term pitcher, but hard to ignore pitching in this park, which is the best or second best pitching environment on the slate. And then, of course, this lineup, really not a lot of threats from the Pirates at all. Even O'Neal Cruz, their biggest threat from the left side, still on the IL. McGreevy, they have been cautious a little bit with his pitch counts to some degree, but he's made it through 6 innings in 4 straight starts in 5 of 6. And, he was throwing 90-plus pitches kind of before these 6-inning outings. I kind of think it was more of a, hey, you made it through 6 strong innings. We'll get you out of there early and not push it more than, you can only throw 74 or 80 pitches, which he's thrown in his last 2. So I do think, McGreevy is capable of throwing another 6. I do think he's capable of close to 100 pitches. And yeah, it's just a price and matchup and park play. But sometimes you play those. I do think McGreevy is a pretty good option at 6,300. I'm pretty much out on bats here, despite the 2 mediocre pitchers. I think the Cardinal side is a little bit more interesting, but I do think there is a lot of better spots to go to, Dan, than hitters in this game. So not going to be a lot of Cardinals or Pirates bats, looks like.
Yeah,
moderate ownership on both these teams hitting-wise. Your thoughts here, Pirates and Cardinals?
Yeah, this looks to be by far the worst hitting environment on the slate. I'm getting some Pirates, but mostly just as 2-mans, just because they're so cheap. I am opposite of you when it comes to the pitching. I'm getting no McGreevy, and I'm getting like around 10% Oviedo. I'm like nearly 3 points higher than Saver on Oviedo. So I'm going to go ahead and go with that. I don't mind the McGreevy play. It's just he's got, let's see, his strikeout prop, he's like 4.5, but it's like pretty heavily juiced to the under, where Oviedo's is juiced to the over, same prop. So I'm just going to lean into that. But yeah, I'm not really getting too much of anything from this game. I'm actually getting the most Oviedo out of anything.
That's interesting. I'll have to take another look here at Oviedo. You mentioned some of the Pirates bats. Ronnie Simon, I assume, is one of the guys who are getting in there hitting leadoff.
My highest guy.
I was kind of a little bit unfamiliar with his games, only been up for a little bit. Hasn't done a lot at the big league level, but did have really impressive minor league numbers before getting called up. 8 home runs, 28 steals, 130 WRC plus in AAA. Hitting leadoff, I believe a switch hitter, so should be completely safe from pinch hit risk. And obviously the price at 2,100. Got to be interested in Simon. Also fills second base and outfield. A lot of reasons to play Simon. McGreevy also been hit hard by lefties. So, yeah, count me in on Ronnie Simon on non-McGreevy teams. I do want to look up Oviedo quick here. I'm curious because you might have something up your sleeve, Dan. I don't know. I don't want to miss out on the Oviedo love. He's getting a lot of whiffs. Say that. Yeah. Pitching plus looks okay. You know what? I'll leave Mr. Oviedo to you. I'll stick with McGreevy in this game. So that'll be our first big disagreement. Whether or not we want to play 10% of Oviedo or McGreevy, our friendship will endure this epic battle. But give me McGreevy over Oviedo, your opposite, and that's all right. We'll move to the next team on the slate. It is in Texas. It is the Angels and the Rangers. Jose Soriano down at 5,700. I know he's had a couple rough starts in his last few, but I'm not really sure what Mr. Soriano did to get priced in the Rockies bottom basement dumper. He's been pretty good. He's got a freaking 4 ERA in the season. The strikeouts have been there for the most part. I think Soriano is just underpriced here. Curious if you're seeing anything in the props that perhaps suggests they're going to, reel in his pitch count or anything, but I don't really think that's going to happen through 102 pitches last time out. I don't really get why he's priced so low. I do think he's an awesome play at 5,700. He is my favorite cheap pitcher on this slate. It looks like the market not really buying Soriano too much either. 10 to 15% on Soriano feels light to me. I'm going to be way over the field on that one. Probably 30-40% of my lineups will have Soriano on them. And then my, I think, number one favorite pitcher on the slate is Jacob deGrom coming in here at 9,300. Does look like he will carry ownership, heavy ownership on the slate. Yeah, 32% is that the highest. Looks like real close with Scooble, both around 30-35%. Makes sense to me. You do get a pretty significant price discount going down to deGrom, and this matchup against the Angels, Dan, certainly a good one. I mean, most of these strikeout rates against righties for the Angels, 25% plus, including the bottom of the order. Some of these guys, Ohapi, Cavadas, Teodosio, 30 to 40% strikeout rates and limited sample sizes for these guys against righties. deGrom has come a little bit back to earth in the second half of the year, but the stuff still grades out just about as well as anybody not named Tarek Skubal. I still think he's one of the very top pitchers in baseball on a start-to-start basis. Pitching at home, good place to pitch. I really don't see anything not to like with deGrom here. No Mike Trout in the lineup either. Another bump for deGrom. I think the ownership more than justified on deGrom. So in on both of these pitchers, not playing Angels bats. Seager, I think, is a fine play. Peterson at 2,300. He's been hitting well. He's a good play as well, but keeping it pretty tight with the hitting in this game. But yeah, give me some deGrom, Soriano. Don't mind playing them together, separate, whatever it may be. Two of my favorite pitchers on this slate. Dan, your thoughts on Angels and Rangers?
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm not sure why, but Soriano is he's not really projecting well anywhere. So it's got to be a matchup thing because his strikeout prop looks fine. And I'm not getting to any of him. And, like you said, I kind of just trust the projection. So I'm not going to be getting to any Soriano, but I'm getting like 40% plus of deGrom on all my runs. So I love deGrom here. Obvious strikeout upside. He's got a 7.5 prop priced at 9,300. That's, by far the best value on the slate. Scherzer's a pretty good value down there too at 6.5 for 8,300, but it's like deGrom and Scherzer, and I think deGrom definitely has more upside in the spot. And as far as hitters go, I'm always down to play the Rangers, man. You mentioned Peterson already, Seager obviously always in play. Who else am I getting here? A lot of Josh Smith. Let me see how much Texans I'm getting.
Texans you're a Soriano hater, Dan. I didn't expect the Soriano hate. I thought you'd be joining me on the Soriano train.
I would think so too. I mean, he rates out as a fine enough value, but I'm probably just getting more Oviedo, Schlittler. Yeah, it looks like Oviedo and Schlittler are taking up sort of that like more of that lower price value spot in my pitching. I may live to regret that, but
I might be missing something. But I do not see the Oviedo over Soriano play like at all. But yeah, I don't know.
We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
I also am puzzled, but a lot of the times when I look at something, unless I've made like a huge mistake, a lot of times there's something to it that I'm just not seeing. So I'm always willing to go with it. I find that a lot of times when I pull back on those things, where I'm like, well, that just seems wrong. And then I pull back and then it's a smash play later. I'm like, fuck, why did I tinker?
Yeah, I'm gonna hold strong on the Soriano love. I do like him quite a bit. I'll ride or die with my Soriano McGreevy teams, Dan, and take you to the corners. But we're both in on deGrom here. And listen, if you're not in on Soriano, I do get playing those Texas lefties against him, or that top half of the lineup makes sense. But I'll roll with my boy, Mr. Soriano Beaner. That's a good one with the Big Bertha reference. You love to see a Beaner. Good stuff. We'll keep it moving after the Soriano disagreement there. We'll go to Seattle for Padres and Mariners here. Bobby Miller going for Seattle. He's been really bad this season. Was pretty good last year. been injured some, but just has not worked out for Miller to the point where I kind of think people still view him, at least to some degree, as a solid pitcher, but has not been true. Not that it's going to play as a great hitter's park, but with warmer temperatures in Seattle, we do have one of the better hitting days in this park of the year. It's still very slightly pitcher friendly, but not the pitcher's paradise that we sometimes see when the roof is closed and it's colder. And then veteran JP Sears going for the Padres here. Played him last time out against San Diego. That one worked out pretty well for Sears, just 2 strikeouts, but 16.5 got the job done. Don't think I'm going to Sears here. I do like the top of the Mariners lineup, though, quite a bit. Those right-handed power bats against Sears. Mariners got some good ones. Arozarena, Camporeale obviously just continues to mash. Julio coming alive. Suarez looks good. Can always play Naylor. But then, Garver and Polanco down there in the 6 and 7 hole look good to me too. So I like this right-handed power, especially with, this park playing a little bit more hitter-friendly than it typically does. And then, someone in chat, King Mana likes the Padres bats against Miller, which, I wasn't really planning to play them, but given how bad Miller is, they do perhaps make some sense as a contrarian stack. Any interest in these Padres bats or anything else in this game, Dan?
I was also surprised that I was getting so many Padres because they are playing in Seattle. But like you said, with the weather kind of just everywhere, it's sort of like leveled things to where instead of being one of the worst hitting environments, they're just sort of a mid hitting environment. And it's got to be a matchup thing. So I'm getting a ton of San Diego bats. I'm getting Tatis, Machado, Bogarts, obviously, Sheets. Arias looks too cheap, even though he doesn't really have any home run upside. But like for the price, this whole San Diego team has really solid home run upside. And then I'm with you on Seattle. I'm getting more 5-mans of San Diego, and I'm getting more secondary stacks of Seattle just because Seattle is one of the more expensive teams on the slate. But I definitely agree that bats are the way to go here because I'm getting none of the pitching either side.
Yeah, pitching going to have next to no ownership, which we both agree with. Nobody on Sears or Miller, rightfully so. And, I might have to get in on a Padres stack in this one. Miller just been so bad. And although we do see some ownership on Padres, right? Yeah, 5 to 10% on Padres. So not crazy low like I kind of expected they might be. But they do make sense. Tatis has smashed righties this year. Yeah, Machado. O'Hearn, I think, is a pretty good play. So might be joining that. Definitely will be in on the Mariners bat. So I do like better. Again, that top 4 of Arozarena, Raleigh, Rodriguez, and Suarez looks like a really strong stack to me for people playing over at FanDuel. You can get that pretty cheap over there. One of my favorite plays, 4 in a row over on FanDuel. Always a good way to go. But good plays on DK despite the high prices as well. Can throw in, although you can't play Garver with Raleigh, you can make that swap, save yourself $3,200 if you want to go that way. I think a pretty good way to go. Let's get to these last 2 games of the slate. First up, we've got the A's and the Tigers. This one in Sacramento, where, as usual, it will play extremely hitter-friendly. Pretty clearly the most hitter-friendly park overall on the slate, as it often is. We've got, of course, Tarek Skubal going for the Tigers. I think people kind of know what to expect from Skubal. He did have 2 kind of mediocre starts in a row before his last one, but then bounced back, as he always does, against Houston with 10 strikeouts over 7 scoreless innings, which is certainly more of what I expect tonight out of Skubal. I say it's not the cleanest matchup in the world, right? It always is a little scary going into the best hitters park on the slate. We obviously know the A's have done a lot of damage in this park. They do have a lot of power in the lineup, also plenty of strikeouts. So I do think Skubal's upside is fully intact here. Maybe a little bit more risk than usual. I do prefer DeGrom at similar ownership if I'm choosing between the two. But, really difficult to say too much bad about Tarik Skubal. He's the best pitcher in baseball. And he is always in play, including tonight, of course. JT Ginn will go for the A's. I mentioned that every time he pitches, he's got extreme splits where been hit hard, very hard by left-handed bats. Tigers have Riley Green in there. I think he's the best one. Winfield Perez would be second. I like the matchup a lot for both Colt Keith and Kerry Carpenter against Ginn, but the problem is could be pinch hit for in the middle of this game when a left-handed reliever comes in. So mostly Green and Winfield Perez for me, especially if Perez is back at the top of the lineup. I don't think I'm playing any A's bats. It would probably be Langoliers and Rooker, but I'm not going to get there on limited lineups. What about you, Dan? What are you doing with Skubal and the rest of this game? Interesting one here.
Yeah, the thing with playing the A's bats is like Skubal probably he's not even going to be one of the higher owned pitchers. I think his price is probably going to depress his ownership. So it's like from a leverage perspective, it's kind of just not even worth it. I don't think.
Yeah.
I mean, you could just play it to be ultra contrarian and have a super low owned stack. But other than that, yeah, I'm going to be about the field with Skubal. I think, like we already talked about, I think there's more edge in just going after Sanchez and sort of getting above the field on him. So I'm happy to get with the field on Skubal. I like the Detroit bats. Obviously, they're expensive, but they're still coming in as like one of my top 5 stacks. And there was a question here. Where is it? Can we make a lineup work with DeGrom and Skubal? Like, yeah, I just filtered to my like Skubal DeGrom combinations, and I'm getting them with all the best bats that we were just talking about. San Diego, Yankees. I've got some with
how much Ronnie Simon do you have on your Skubal DeGrom pairings? It's got to be high.
I have him in 1. What 2? As part of a stack. Yeah, he's in 2. I'm only getting like 10% of Simon.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, no, you can certainly make it fit. In general, the bigger the slates, the easier it is, right, to fit in the top end pitching because you just get more value hitter options.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially, you're just I don't mind forcing in the more expensive pitching because if anything, even if you're trying to just play the more expensive stacks, it's just going to force in those kind of lower price guys at the bottom of the order, which that's tournament winning shit right there.
What do you do with a guy like Colt Keith who, is cheap, doesn't have a good matchup, everything looks good except for the pinch hit risk? Are you willing to play him into that 15% or so ownership?
Yeah, I'm getting like 8% of him. And let me see where I'm getting most of him at. I would assume that he's I probably marked him off to not be a one-off. Yeah, so I'm not going to get him as a one-off. I will get him in 2-mans with other guys. I think he has the highest pinch risk on the team. So let me just see where I've got him at.
Yeah, it's got to be highest.
Yeah, I've got him in 2-mans. I've got him mostly in 5-mans.
The guy Squid is on the Colt Keith train, and feels like a play I'll fade because of the pinch hit risk, and then he'll hit a home run in his first at bat. Is typically how that turns out. But I probably will mix in a little bit of Keith, but I do think pretty good chance he's coming out of the game in the middle innings. I think that covers Detroit and the A's. I will say, at these ownerships for the Tigers, we can get that Winfield Perez truly at that 5% number. I think he's an awesome play, even if he's a little bit down in the order. Switch hitter, who'll be in there the whole game, swinging a decent bat recently. A little bit under the radar, Winfield Perez. Let's get to the last game on the slate. It is the Dodgers and the Reds. Another fun game here. We've got Hunter Green making his third start back from a long injury layoff. Threw 98 pitches last time out, 12 strikeouts to give up 3 earned runs, I think pretty late in that game, but looked awesome as ever. Deserved certainly more than the 28.65 DraftKings points he accrued. Tough matchup here, obviously, Dan, against the Dodgers, one of the better lineups in baseball. It is, watered down a little bit. The back half of it is not really something you need to fear too much. And Hunter Green, for my money, one of the, might be right behind Skubal in terms of just the talent, the arm talent that he brings to the table. And I do think he's one of the few pitchers, Dan, where if he's truly dialed in and on his game, I'm not sure it matters that much who he's facing. I think he could throw his fastball if he locates it by any hitter and gets more chases now too. So I'm in on Hunter Green at Pulling up ownership here, I think I saw around 10% for him. Yeah, 12 to 13% for Hunter Green. A little bit like the Sanchez play, right? I think people are shying away from the matchup. Hunter Green, very different pitcher than Sanchez, but I kind of expect the results to be the same. I'm in at the low ownership on Hunter Green here. I'm buying at this price and ownership. And not only the ownership is a discount, so is the price. He's way better than a 9K pitcher overall. He deserves to be 10K for how good he's been when healthy. So buying on Hunter Green and buying as well on Emmett Sheehan. We've talked about a lot about him on this show. Boynton's a big fan of him. I've grown to like Sheehan too. He's been solid since joining the Dodgers rotation. Has been stretched out to 91 pitches in each of the last 2 starts. Has made it at least 5 innings and 3 starts in a row. Does seem like the Dodgers are really seeing what they have in Sheehan. So I do think there's a chance they're going to want him to go 5-6 innings, see if they can trust him for the playoffs. Good time to test it in a pretty good matchup against a Reds lineup. So Sheehan, to me, a little bit too cheap at 7,500 in on Green. I will say, this is one of those spots where you get, and there's not very many of them, but you get pretty low owned Ohtani at 12%. I think he's a fine play. I don't mind Ellie De La Cruz, massive upside play at 6%. But it's mostly the pitching for me here, Dan. I like Green and Sheehan. Going to mix both these guys in. What are you doing with Reds and Dodgers?
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm mostly on the pitching here. Hunter Green is anywhere from my second to third highest owned pitcher, depending on the run. Sheehan, I'm getting like 15% of as well. So, yeah, I like the pitching here. I think, like, if you look, the Dodgers, I'm a lot lower on the Dodgers, and they're up there with Seattle, New York, Detroit, Philly. I just much prefer Seattle, New York, Detroit to LA. So I'm also willing to take the risk and just play talent in a rougher matchup and just really lean into Green and hope that Green smashes and one of these other more expensive teams outscores the Dodgers, which I think is likely tonight.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised that the Dodgers were higher owned than I expected. I mean, it's not crazy, but going up against one of the best pitchers in baseball, I'm with you. I'm going to go elsewhere than the Dodgers for the most part. And glad to hear you're on the Hunter Green train. I think he's an awesome play tonight. Absolutely on board with that one. That is all 10 games on this slate. Anyone with questions in chat, we can try to get to those. We'll do pick 6 here in a moment, but first let's run back through our favorite plays on the slate, starting at pitcher. Dan, what do you think is your favorite overall pitching combination on DraftKings tonight?
All right, it's looking like – no, I don't want to use that run. Hold on. It's weird. It's showing me like a lot of DeGrom and Skubal, but I think I probably prefer DeGrom and Green as like my number one use combination. So I'll be pushing Green a little bit more.
Yeah, DeGrom Green. I think that's probably going to end up being my core tonight. Certainly DeGrom is going to be in there, and then Sanchez, the other guy. Really, those 3. I'm kind of playing just like merry-go-round with those 3. Build a lineup I like. Swap in one or the other, change a bat. You got a 2v2 or a 3v3. I'm in on all 3 of those guys. I'm out on Woodruff and Ryan, and then I will mix in Skubal as well. But then the cheap guy that I do like a ton, I know you're not on him, but I do like Jose Soriano down there all the way at 5,700. We'll throw in McGreevy as well, but it sounds like your favorite cheap options is it Sheehan and Oviedo, the 2 guys you're looking at down there?
Yes, unfortunately.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not there, but yeah.
Oh, and actually, I've got Schlittler a bit higher than Sheehan, so it would probably be Schlittler and Sheehan, and then if you really, really need to go down, Oviedo.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Simons, yeah, you can play him at second base or outfield. I think he's a better play at second base. Second base looks pretty bad to me tonight outside of Jazz Chisholm, so I think I would put him at second base. Obviously, as usual, a ton of good outfield plays. I do think he's better deployed at second base tonight. Let's get to stacks, Dan. What are you looking at for stacks tonight? Give me your top 3.
Top 3 stacks. I got the Yankees, the Royals, and the Brewers.
Yankees, Royals, and Brewers. I do like the Brewers and the Yankees. They will join my top stacks as well. The Yankees, I think, are if we take ownership out of it, I think clearly the highest upside stack on the slate. So in on them for sure. I'll throw in the Mariners bats, especially that top half of the lineup, 4 righties right in a row against the lefty JP Sears. I think that's a very strong way to go. So I'll be in on the Mariners. Decent night to hit, better than usual in T-Mobile Park in Seattle as well. Let's go over to pick 6. I will swap out the screen share here. There we go. Get on over. Where do we want to start with this one, Dan? Who are we both on? We're on the Sanchez train, right? Let's see what Christopher Sanchez has got for us in pick 6. They want us to bet against him, which I don't want to do. So we'll move on from Sanchez to Hunter Green. Here we go. What do we like best here? Strikeouts, outs? You have a preference between those two? 6.5 strikeouts or 17.5 outs? I lean the strikeout side. I think he's just a strikeout arm overall.
What did you say? It was 16.5 outs?
17.5.
Oh yeah, let's go strikeouts for sure. Yeah.
All right. We got Hunter Green, 6.5 strikeouts. Any pitchers or let's look at DeGrom next. I like going to DeGrom. We're both very high on DeGrom. This one, strikeouts are locked, but 15.5 outs for DeGrom feels really, really good to me. I know they could start dialing him back somewhat, but I think DeGrom can get through 6 innings easily here, even with somewhat reduced pitch count. So in on DeGrom over 15.5 outs. You think of one, Dan, but I'm looking at my guy, Soriano. I know you might not be on board with this one. That's all right. I'm going with, the strikeouts with Soriano. 4.5 strikeouts. I'm in on the Soriano train. You got one for us next? Anyone you want me to look up?
Yeah, let's do what about Schwarber, home run?
Yeah, I like that. Ooh, nice. They're giving us a little bit of a multiplier there, 1.7x for big Kyle Schwarber. You got to love it. 2 more to get to. What else do we want to look at here?
Just looking at home run guys that I got. What about Riley Green to hit a home run as well?
Yeah, let's go to actually, we'll go to that in a second. What about Erod to give up more than 2.5 earned runs against the Brewers?
Yeah, I like that.
He's an earned run machine. I bet the Brewers get to him. Love it. And then, we're both high on Riley Green, so we will go over there to get the 1.8x on the Riley Green home run. So we got Green to hit a home run, Eduardo Rodriguez to give up more than 2.5 earned runs, Schwarber to go yard, Soriano over 4.5 strikeouts, DeGrom over 15.5 outs, and Hunter Green to get 7 or more strikeouts against the Dodgers. All right, that's it. Yeah, it's a good one. So hopefully we'll get home on this one. DK also running. I haven't had a great chance to look at it yet. I don't know if you have, but it looks like a big pick 6 promotion with NFL coming up. So we'll have to check that out for sure in the coming days. But for now, here's our pick 6 for tonight. That's all 10 games covered, and hopefully getting everybody ready to have an awesome Monday night slate. Thanks for filling in today, Dan. Appreciate the info, and I'll be back tomorrow with somebody covering tomorrow's baseball slate. Until then, I'm DC. He's Dan. We're out of here.